We just got the keys to our new studio, and right now, this is where we're at. But we're about to build our dream nothing setup. For the desk, we need a surface big enough for all of our tech and any other bits of work that I might have to do throughout the day. I also didn't want it to look too much like a generic office table, so in the end I ended up going with the Teenage Engineering Field Desk. A flat pack desk which is very much a modular workspace, which means we can attach a bunch of different accessories to it by sliding them onto this rail system, which goes around the entire desk. These rails, legs, and clamps are made of this slim recycled aluminium, so even though the desk is kind of big, it ends up not feeling too bulky. I also just kind of like what it looks like. Nothing in Teenage Engineering share a lot of similar design principles, so I thought it just made sense to use this field desk as the base for the rest of our setup. Onto the chair. If the team aren't out on a shoot, we're usually sat at our desk for hours. So we, 1, need to make sure we get something that's really comfortable. 2, is ergonomic, so is it gonna mess up our backs? And 3, fits in with the aesthetic of the rest of the studio. At first I was thinking something like the Herman Miller Aeron, an obvious top tier chair which is really popular here on YouTube. But I wanted something more classic with a bit more of a story. After going back to our design team mood boards, I remembered this, the Kevy chair. If you've ever sat on a chair with wheels, it was very likely inspired in some part by this number. Designed in 1958 by a Danish architect, the Kevy chair basically set the standard for this dual wheel setup. Wheels on chairs are obviously essential for moving around the office, and this one's actually 20 years old, which blows my mind a little bit. It's surprisingly comfortable once you get the hang of it, and it's designed with ergonomics in mind, so it ticks all our boxes. Cool. Onto the actual setup. For our monitor, we're going with the studio display, because until Nothing make their own monitor, it's the obvious go-to solution. The bright screen and decently accurate colors are great for video work, particularly when you're trying to match skin tones and stuff like that. Using a monitor with a built-in microphone and webcam is really useful. It means you don't need to mess around with any extra accessories. Plus, it doesn't look too bad. Unlike the monitor, for the keyboard, I wanted to choose something less generic and a bit more unique. Not gonna lie, I spent way too much time researching and building this thing. But that's kind of the point of these custom keyboards. Getting creative with what you want it to look like. How it feels, how it sounds, all of that. For me, I wanted something a bit smaller, enjoyable to type on, but also not too loud, so it doesn't annoy any of my co-workers. I ended up choosing this really nice, transparent and white base, which has a similar feel to our Phone 3, and paired it with some switches that aren't too noisy. To finish up this very clean keyboard aesthetic, I went with these X-ray keycaps, which have a really interesting translucent coating to them. And honestly, I'm really happy with how the whole thing turned out. It looks kind of basic from afar, but when you get in close and look at all the details, you realize there's a lot more going on. Quick sound test. I'm pairing this keyboard with the Logitech Master 3S mouse. Been using one of these since the original Master 3 mouse was released back in 2019. The customizable buttons, horizontal scroll wheel, and mag speak button, which lets you toggle how responsive you want your scrolling to be. It's all just so useful. I also really appreciate how easy it is to assign custom button layouts to all of your different applications. When I'm editing, this horizontal wheel is great for scrolling across your timeline, and I've also mapped this thumb rest button to select all clips to the right, which I find useful and really helps speed up my work. There probably are newer, more ergonomic mouse options out there, but this one really is just a case of if it's not broke, don't fix it. Similarly, I'm going to stick to my MacBook Pro as my main PC. I like being able to work in random places around the office, so I'm quite happy with this powering everything. It's a bit of a monster anyway, way more than enough to handle anything that I'm capable of working on. To maximize on desk space, we'll be using this 3D printed laptop stand, and this is where the modularity of the field desk comes in handy. You can slide them right onto the rails here, meaning you can keep your laptop completely off your desk, leaving you with as much space as possible for our next item, which might be kinda controversial, a speaker. Although not essential, I am gonna be adding a pair to this setup. Before we go live with an upload, the team usually gather around a monitor to watch the final edit. So although I'm not going to be blasting music from these too often, high quality audio is going to be needed for those sessions. I wanted a pair that don't take up too much space on the desk, but also work aesthetically with the rest of our setup. I looked at a few, listened to a few, and settled on the Genelec G2s, mostly because I really like the raw brushed aluminium finish, but they're also technically very good. They produce a very neutral sound, which makes them great for audio monitoring, which is important for us when you want to make sure all of your sound effects and background music are nicely balanced. The design also ticked this style and size boxes, so I think they tuck in quite nicely next to our display here. Bonus points for being active speakers, meaning we don't need any extra power from preamps and we can just plug them straight into the sockets. Cool! The setup's starting to look pretty good, so we can start adding in some extra bits of personality. I think a good desk lamp, although not essential, makes a huge difference. Something about the warm light is just kind of calming, and some studies suggest that dim warm light can reduce stress, increase creativity, and reduce overall feelings of anxiety. I'm going with the Vestberg 227, a lamp designed by Dirk Winkel, a Berlin-based designer driven by this idea of formal purism being a basic principle for sustainability. This lamp has this mechanical transparency feel to it, so you can really see how all the hinges move and work together. Again, resonating with our own design philosophy here at Nothing. But what I really like about this lamp is the cob light inside here, which uses a similar kind of technology to studio lights. In general, this means a brighter, cleaner light that uses less energy. It is overkill in a normal desk setup, but it can double up as a practical light when we're shooting videos, so I'm happy with it. I want to add some color to our setup, so I'm picking up this Timor desk calendar. Designed in 1967 by Enzo Mari, it was inspired by the flicking destination signboards at train stations. It's a physical perpetual calendar, which in 1967 solved the pretty complex problem of having a calendar which didn't need replacing every year, while also being aesthetically pleasing. This iconic blend of functionality and design is still widely respected today, and this calendar is actually part of the Museum of Modern Art's permanent collection. I like the idea of just having a piece of modern art just sat on my desk, and the need to physically change the date every day means you're constantly interacting with it. Another Italian-designed accessory is this desk organizer by Bruno Munari. Produced by the same manufacturer as our calendar, it's an organizer which shares a lot of similar design principles to our products here at Nothing. A compact geometric shape which aligns with one of Munari's many quotes. To complicate is simple, but to simplify is complicated. Designed as a modular organizer, meaning you can switch out these blocks, the original had a space for pencils, paper clips, and an ashtray for ashing out all your cigarettes. You know, all the essentials for drawing and writing. Doesn't need much explanation, but I'm gonna add a pair of headphone ones to this setup. They're wireless, which means I can listen to YouTube while I'm walking around the office. And if anyone tries to stop me for a conversation, the tactile buttons on the outside make it easy to switch to transparency mode and hear everything they're saying without needing to pause my video. While I'm working on videos, I think the low lag mode, which prioritizes lower latency, is actually so good. Going back to the desk, we're finishing up with a notepad, a Muji pen, and a 3D printed Pokemon figure. And that's it. A Nothing Creative's dream desk setup.